Hi there, this is James Tripp speaking for jamestripp.co.uk. Now, I'm just walking through the town where my office is, and a thought occurred to me, an idea occurred to me, a message that I would like to share with you. It relates to the previous video that I created, the one where I was on the rooftop in Malta and I was talking about Wu Wei and doing without doing. It's an interesting concept, but I'd like to give you a tool, a way of thinking about it that will actually help you apply it in your life rather than just have it as an interesting concept. And it's based around a question. It's a two-part question. I'd like to ask you this question right now. And the question is, what is it that's missing from your life right now? And what is it that you're doing to keep it out? Now, this is an interesting question, and when people first hear it, it kind of doesn't quite make sense to them because of the way we are fundamentally trained to think. And we are fundamentally trained or conditioned to think in terms of, if I want something in my life, I need to do a bunch of stuff to get it. That's the way it works, you know. You can't have a house appear in your life without going through a process to build that house. You know, you first of all, you plan it, you scope the job, you get someone to draw up the plans, an architect, then you contract builders and they have to get materials and there are quantity surveyors involved, and all of this stuff needs to be done for the house to come into being, we think. And yes, in a way it does, because houses emerge from those activities. But it isn't, this question isn't about the external facts of the matter. It's about the internal organization. It's about the way you think about things. So what we're used to doing is thinking in this way. I want something in my life. I don't have it now, so the only place I can have it is in my future. So then we think about the thing we want, and we think about it in our future, and then we start to think about all the things that we have to do to get it. And we stack these things into our future, and as we do so, we stack things on top of ourselves that create pressure and create stress and create tedium, because there's all this mountain of stuff that needs to be done. And as we do this stuff, the only payoff for it is in the future. There is no payoff in the moment. Now, some people are good, solid workers, and they seem to be able to do this. I say that, but I'm not even convinced that's true. When I read entrepreneurs' autobiographies, the one thing that strikes me, and I've read a lot of biographies of different entrepreneurs, one of the things that strikes me about them all, even though they have different styles, is they are all creators. They are all creators. They tend to act quickly and on the fly. The reason entrepreneurs often have lots of failed businesses is because they do stuff on impulse. They do stuff playfully. They do stuff like kids. I got 2 kids and they are phenomenally productive. They are creating a mountain of stuff all the time. They are creating models out of boxes. They are creating paintings and pictures, and they create dances, and they create songs, and they create imaginative scenarios, and they are endlessly creating things into the world. And yet they never think in terms of, what do I want to do? What do I need to do it? They get the idea, they connect to the passion, and they act in the moment, and the action starts to generate the result. This is what entrepreneurs do. It's exactly what entrepreneurs do. You look and you see, oh, they've got lots of failed businesses, and then they've got the stuff that works because they act like big kids. They think, they play in the moment. Yeah, of course, they've got adult brains on them as well that can wrangle the technicalities and crunch the logistics, so to speak, and that supports them, but essentially they're creative. And you'll find entrepreneurs often will utilize other people to do the donkey work for them. They're there in the creative space. They're coming up with the ideas. They remove the barriers. They don't think, oh, well, I can't do that because. Now, let's get back to the question. What is it that's missing from your life? And what are you doing to keep it out? Let's look at business. I've coached a lot of people who are small business people, and a lot of the time when people start up, I was very much like this as well. They get caught in the sole trader trap. They are a one-man band, so to speak, or one-woman band, and they've got their business and they're trying to do it all themselves. They're trying to do it all themselves. This is different from a classic kind of entrepreneur's mindset, because entrepreneurs don't really care about doing it themselves. They're happy just to get it done. They want it done now, in the moment, not in the future, now. They want things moving now. So they will quickly recruit other people to do stuff for them, and they're very willing to do that. Whereas a lot of people that get caught in the sole trader trap, and if you've ever read the book The E-Myth, I think it's by Michael Gerber, he talks about this exquisitely, how people try and stay as a one-man band and they try and do everything because they think all those things are the things that need to be done in order for them to create a prosperous business. But actually in doing those things, they destroy their business because they destroy their motivation, because they can't keep up with the customers, because they can't do all the work. They start dropping the ball all the time. So by trying to do it all themselves, they end up keeping prosperity and success out of their lives. By letting go and allowing other people to do things for them and recruiting and enrolling other people, then they can become prosperous. But here's the thing, why aren't they doing that? Well, usually it's because there's some story they're telling themselves outside of their consciousness that, well, I can't really afford to employ somebody to do this, or I can't really afford to outsource that because I don't really have the money at the moment. Maybe when the business is in a better shape, I'll do this. Again, that's an example of something that somebody does that keeps something out of their lives. They're keeping the resources out of their lives, out of their business, that would move it forward because they're telling themselves a story outside of consciousness that they can't afford it right now. The question is, can they afford not to bring those people in? Can they afford not to outsource that particular job or whatever? Now, they don't know because they don't have the faith in themselves. They're not willing to invest themselves because they don't know that they absolutely are going to make it. This is usually the pattern that's running under the surface. And again, this is something they are actively doing. Again, they're telling themselves stories outside of consciousness about who they are. Well, I don't know if I'm really going to make it. They've got a lot of I can't bubbling up, what I call a lot of I can't. This is active cognitive processing. It may be going on outside of consciousness, but again, it's an example of stuff that people do to keep things out of their lives. Now, if you look, I loved Richard Branson's autobiography. What was it called? Losing My Virginity. I think that's absolutely great. Now, I know Richard is a master PR guy, so he's going to be framing himself. He's going to be telling a particular story of himself in the world, and that's part of his expertise set. That's part of his skill set. But you look at Richard Branson in that, and he is a fantastic example of this. He's a guy with a big grin and a notepad who gets excited about ideas and has lots of conversations with people about them. That's pretty much how the guy is, you know. And I love this interview with him at some point. It was at a business conference where somebody said, "Hey Richard, when did you decide to get into business?" And he's all thrown by this and confused and said, "Well, I never decided to get into business. You know, I just create things I like." So he didn't decide to get into business, because that isn't how Richard Branson operates, I believe. I mean, if Richard, you're watching this, please do give me a call and we can and set me straight on this. But he doesn't operate like that. So, because deciding to get into business is something you're placing in the way of just going into the world and expressing your ideas. If you say to yourself, well, I'd really love to create stuff, but first of all, I need to get into business. If Richard thought like that, that would be a barrier he would be placing in his way, because he'd be placing this thing that said, I have to get into business in the way. It's not about the facts in the world, remember, it's about the internal organisation. So now, instead of just creating the thing he wants, now he's thinking about, well, I've got to get into business. And then he might be thinking, well, actually, I don't have any business skills. I don't know anything about business. Oh, well, I better go to business school first then. And learn about business and get some books and study business. Yeah, when I got this whole business thing licked, then I can get into business and then I can create some cool things. But Richard never thought like that. He just had an idea and got busy doing it right then and there in that moment, because he is a creator. And this is what creators do. Creators connect to purpose. They connect to vision. They light a fire inside of themselves, and then they do what is in front of them that's going to contribute to that. It's a creative mindset. It's the same as a sculptor or a potter or somebody who works in clay, for example, gets a big hunk of clay and the vision is inside of them and they just start working the clay. They don't rock back thinking, well, I'd really love to make this thing, but first of all, I'd need to know how to make it. Yeah, I definitely need to know how to make it first. So how am I going to find out how to make this thing? They don't do that. They have the vision, they connect, they create. So whatever it is that you want to bring into your life, whatever it might be. I was coaching somebody just the other day who is a coach. They are a coach, or they have coaching skills. And they're doing this classic thing that a lot of people do. Well, you know, I would like to at some point be a successful coach. And I'm thinking, listening to this, thinking, well, be it now, right now. Because you can be a successful coach just by getting excited about coaching and coaching people right now. There is nothing that needs to be done. But again, obviously on some level, there were some things that he was placing in his own way. I don't want to do that. Often when I sit down with clients, I don't want to say, what is it you want to have in your future? Where is it you want to get to? You know, where are you aiming for? Where do you want to be in 5 years' time? I'm not interested in that. I want to know, what do you want to create into your life right now? What's the difference you want to make now? Because the differences that you make now are the only differences that count. They are the only differences that count. So if you're inspired, if you want to create, if you want to make things happen, if you want to start making your life absolutely rock, start right now. What would you love to bring into your life right now? Make it a present tense project. Carve out time in your life to spend with that thing because it's awesome. Play like a kid. Create like a kid. Do this and you will bring wonderful things into your life. I absolutely promise you. I know this might be hard for you to wrap your head around because you went to regular school, which trains you to be a good worker bee, a good drone, to be a tool for other people who are creators. That's what schooling does. It turns us into tools for people who are real creators to utilize and use. It's crappy like that. Don't get caught in the trap, because your life will become more fulfilled and more prosperous when you become a creator. You shift to a creation mindset. Don't be a tool for other people. Create for yourself, for your own life, for your family, for the people who are important to you. And get in there and do it now. So if there's anything that's missing from your life, if there's anything that's not there, or if there's stuff that's there that you would like more of, look very carefully. Look into yourself. Shift out. Take a meta perspective. What are the stories you're telling yourself about what needs to happen in order to get that? Because those are things that you're putting in your way. What are the stories of lack? What are the stories of I can't? What are the stories of, well, the world isn't like that? Because there'll be a whole bunch of thinking and a whole bunch of ways you're looking at it that you're putting in your way. That's what the question is asking. What is it that you're doing to keep that stuff out? What is it you're doing in your head? Because I promise you, when you remove this, when you stop doing that and you connect to your purpose and you become free, you will create, and you will create in that wonderful, playful, spontaneous way, and it will bring you fulfillment and prosperity. Okay, thanks for listening to that message. It's an add-on from the previous one. If you have any questions about this, you would love to know more, please do utilize the contact section below, the comments section below. That's what I'm asking for there. That's what I'm looking for. Ask any questions you like, and any feedback that you have for me as well will be warmly appreciated and received.